After 2 days of rigorous discussions, deliberations and debates on themes around constructivism, especially within the Indian context and the challenges, we are all here gathered today for the concluding session of this conference, the valedictory function of the 2-day international conference on constructivism in teaching and learning in the context of formal and distance learning. I am very, very delighted to extend a very warm welcome to all of you, particularly to our guests. First, our chief guest, Professor S. Mohan, Vice Chancellor, our neighbor actually, Pondicherry Technical University. Our esteemed colleague, Professor Rajiv Jain, Director of Culture and Cultural Relations, Pondicherry University. Our organizers of the conference, Professor Ramaiah, Dean, Directorate of Distance Education, Professor Chelamani, Dean, School of Education. All the other faculty members that are present here, research scholars, students, non-teaching staff, a very warm welcome to all of you. I will now request Professor Ramaiah to deliver the welcome address. Sir.
Good evening to all on the dais of the dais. Professor S. Mohananji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry Technological University. Professor Rajiv Jainji, the Director, Culture and Cultural Relations. Conference participants, guests and speakers. 4 keynote speakers who are actually, they are not available here. They came actually online and they delivered speeches. Deans, heads of the departments, statutory officers of the Pondicherry University, faculty members, scholars, students, those are gathered in the valedictory function in today's evening. First and the foremost, I would like to thank our Professor S. Mohananji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Pondicherry Technological University, for accepting our invitation and going to deliver his speech actually for the participants of this international conference. Thank you very much, sir. Also, I would like to thank our Director, Culture and Cultural Relations, Professor Rajiv Jainji, for accepting our invitation and gracing the occasion. Thank you very much, sir. Though I spoke actually about the DDE for the benefit of the chief guest, I need to tell again. You please pardon me, actually I'll be repeating the same thing what I spoke actually before. DDE, Directorate of Distance Education, was established in 1995. And it is offering actually the undergraduate programs, postgraduate program, postgraduate diploma programs. And at present, the Director of Distance Education is offering actually the 8 undergraduate degree programs, 4 PG degree programs, and 8 actually MBA programs. DD is fully automated, and from the submission of the stage of the application form to the giving the provisional degree certificate, the process is actually automated, and we are one of the very few universities which are fully automated in India, maybe the top 3 or top 4. So DDE is also actually arranging international and national webinar series, and we also conduct a seminar on open educational resources, conduct the workshops for the communication skills of all our students. So this is the Cello Jubilee year, because of which actually we are conducting all these events. This is the benefit of you actually, because I already spoke the same thing before, and for your updation actually I'm telling you, sir. And this conference actually, since the distance education has got link-ups from several disciplines, one of the most important disciplines is the education. And because of that, we have collaborated actually School of Education, and we just conducted actually this international conference. We also have actually another conference with the Department of Computer Science, which we will be conducting 27th, 28th of this month. So the present international conference is on constructivism and teaching and learning in the context of formal and distance learning, which is a good platform to discuss about all the issues related to constructivism used in formal and distance education, of course. So for this purpose, DDE, as I told, of course, has collaborated with the School of Education, of course. And about the conference, the traditional, if you see the traditional face-to-face courses, we tend to have actually two primary means of transferring the knowledge to the students. One is instructor lectures, and the second one is actually textbook information. These are the two ways which we pass. Students generally learn course material by listening and taking notes during the lectures as well as by reading the textbooks. Even if the material is accessed from the internet, that's also will be considering as a textbook material, of course. In constructive learning model, the student construct their own knowledge from the individual experiences and form thinking through these experiences called actually constructivism. The constructivist model learning opposes the objectivist idea that is the best way to transmit knowledge in disseminating from expert to learner. Learner transfer the knowledge through experiences via mental models which are used to assimilate new information to knowledge and thus becoming expanded mental models. This knowledge transfer emphasizes knowledge construction and problem solving in domains of increasing conceptual complex. So the another aspect of constructivist learning is that it lays the foundation for the concept of lifelong learning. See, the constructivist model of learning requires the student to be more active in and take more control over the learning process. It helps to develop the student's ability to learn on his and her own. This supports the concept of lifelong learning, of course. So this we would like to apply to the this one education. In distance learning, technology offers many opportunities to restructure the teaching and learning process. These changes include increasing the flexibility, interactivity, and to access a wide variety of resources for the teachers and students. The most valuable classroom activity is opportunity for the students to work together and interact together to build and become part of the community of scholars and practitioners. And the experts suggest that the technology used in distance education should facilitate this learning process rather than broadcast teacher-centered lectures and demonstrations. So in the distance learning, the students are expected to shoulder more responsibility than the learners, and the capacity of the emerging technology with its increasing capacity to support the learning, the marriage of constructivism and distance education seems like to be a good fit. I would like to, this is the more or less which we discussed for the past 2 days in how the constructivism can be applied both in formal education and actually in the distance education. We had about 39 papers, including the 4 keynote speakers. The detailed actually the report will be giving my colleague Dr. Hani, who is the Rapporteur General of this conference. So at this stage, I would like to thank the sponsors of this conference, this Indian Council of Social Science Research, New Delhi, the McGraw-Hill India, and Indian Bank and Himalayan Publishing Company for their support to this conference. My sincere thanks to all the members of the organizing committee of this conference, for particularly all the staff of the DDE and School of Education, for the tirelessly working for the past 2 months to make this event successful. With this small background and this one, being the organizing secretary of the international conference, once again I would like to welcome for the valedictory function of this international conference, and thank you very much for your participation in this function. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Firstly, for welcoming our guests who have taken their time out from very busy schedules. And secondly, for presenting a brief review of the discussions, deliberations, and perhaps debates that happened during the 2 days of this very fruitful, I believe, international conference, and also on emphasizing the value of integrating the approach of constructivism within the distance learning. We would now like to honor our guests. I first and foremost request Professor Ramaiah to present a shawl and a memento to our very special guest, Professor Mohan.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank the organizing secretary, Professor C.K. Ramaiah, for giving me this opportunity to present a snapshot of the reports, the papers that were presented during these 2 days. The function was the 2-day international conference on constructivism in teaching and learning in the context of formal and distance learning was inaugurated by 3 vice chancellors, and each of them actually spoke about constructivism in detail. And I would like to highlight, Professor Panchanathan. He drew on his wide and expansive experiences in administration and teaching. His talk was tinged with a sense of humor, and in fact he did convey his message across, stating that there are at least about 150 teaching methods that teachers can leverage, and lecturing is not only the predominant mode of teaching and learning. He also said that he learned the salience of Thirukkural from a foreigner, that is at Stockholm, when he wanted to understand the qualities of leadership. And Professor M. Krishnan, the Vice Chancellor of CUTN, Central University of Tamil Nadu, he emphasized that teachers should educate students about the glory of indigenous products. And he also said that students should be trained on manufacturing products of Indian origin instead of depending on products that are imported from other countries. And our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmeet Singh, from Pondicherry University, he urged teachers to be impromptu while delivering lectures. And Professor Tarnikarasu, Director of Studies, he gave a historical overview of philosophies of Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. So we had a wonderful inaugural function event. Followed by that, we had about 4 track sessions. So I think everybody has. I'm talking about the guests of honor, the guests of honor who are present here today as well for the valedictory function. The guests of honor during the inaugural function lucidly explained the concept of constructivism, and I only would like to present a vignette, a sort of a snapshot experience that I had with one of my neighbor's son. So he scored less marks, and then I was telling him that if you're not going to score, then you're not going to get a job. And then I was taking him around for a walk in the neighboring regions of the quarters. And then he looked at the construction workers and he asked as to why they are staying in this small place. And I said probably they didn't study, so they are here to attend to this work. And then we continued our walk. So then I explained that why his mother and his father, they are working. And then he asked me about my wife and who's a homemaker. Then I said, yeah, she didn't go to school probably or college. She didn't pursue college education. Then he immediately said, no, she is working in the kitchen. So I think constructivism can be understood as to how learners, even as young as these kids, acquire a lot of knowledge, and their understanding is something different, and we stand in awe of looking at how kids acquire knowledge. So coming to these 2-day presentations, I must say that we have come a long way perhaps, and after the advent of digital technologies and the internet, I think teaching and learning have sort of metamorphosed into new terrains, and therefore there is a strong call for blended learning. And so there are a lot of papers which are presented on constructivism, and as we're talking about constructivism, yes, I also come across terms such as connectivism, shareism and stuff like that. Yeah, the only other experience that I have with the education is I worked in the e-learning industry for 5 years, but that is about 15 years back, and probably I do not have the theoretical background that some of these papers have dealt with. So it must also be understood that there are 4 tracks. Let me come to the sessions. There were 4 sessions. On day 1 there were about 2 tracks, and day 3 there were about 3 tracks, and totally about 39 papers were presented, which include 4 keynote addresses as well. And the papers, totally about 80 papers were received, and 40 were selected, and these 35 papers were spread under 4 sub-themes, which is 1, teaching and learning in hybrid mode. Second one is self-directed learning in distance mode, and third one is blended learning. 4 is discipline-based teaching and learning, and we had about 2 sessions. The session which we had in the afternoon today. So in the technical session, there were 4 sessions. 3 speakers from Malaysia, AIMST University. They presented their talks on various topics on hybrid mode, teaching and learning in hybrid mode, and clinical how to use technologies in clinical education, clinical phase curriculum development, and so on and so forth. And there is 1 speaker from Sri Lanka. The papers presented in the first session dealt with online learning, and we must understand that it's become, or it at least emerged as a sort of a Hobson's choice during COVID-19 pandemic. So yes, this online learning and teaching method is relatively an older phenomenon. But what happened during the pandemic is that it almost sort of erased traditional teaching methods, and it even gave rise to, some scholars are stating that it gave rise to like pedagogy, they're saying panic-gogy. But this is a sudden move and a sudden shift, to online, paradigm. It's a sort of a, forced paradigm shift that all of us, encountered. But while yes, we're talking about, challenges, the online teaching methods also presented opportunities, to both teachers and students. So quite a number of the papers in the track 1, there is a session 1 focused on the psychological and psychological impact that online teaching might have on students, and some of the papers focused on the relevance of blended learning. Of course, there are also a lot of challenges, as even Professor Ritu was mentioning. What are the challenges within the Indian context? Because it's not easy to compare our context with that of the US or any other developed country. So the preparedness of the country in terms of having infrastructure and making this infrastructure available. So this is also something what one of the vice chancellors in the inaugural session pointed out. Yeah, so there are a lot of interesting changes that are taking place. One is, yes, I mean, some of these batches were dubbed as corona batches, but on the other hand, there is also that the industry wants to change. So the ways of working and the modes of working have also changed from workplaces to non-workplaces, to teleworking and all this stuff. So several of the studies pointed out what students experienced in terms of stress and depression following the compulsory shift to online methods. So some of the, as presented by some of the papers, they said like these are some of the difficulties faced by students, which include adaptation, time management, social media distraction, and technological barriers. And teachers also face challenges in terms of, it's not just about remediating content, from one mode to another mode, but it is also about evolving and designing suitable and workable models of assignments and pedagogies, strategies, instructional strategies, and so on and so forth. So some papers discuss the positive and negative effects of online mode of learning, but still from the findings what the authors presented is that online mode of learning is found to be having more disadvantages than advantages. which is something for us to reflect on as to how we are going to examine these challenges and how to convert these challenges into opportunities. Some papers also argued that students and teachers were reluctant to continue with online classes after the pandemic, so they wanted to return to the normal. And as most of the papers highlighted, and that's in fact something which is in alignment with the focus of the conceptual premise of this particular conference. So that is, they argued strongly for blended learning, which is like using both online and offline modes. But even within this, like some of the papers argued how one could strategize as to how one could design certain innovative pedagogies in order to make learning entertaining as well. But some students, as some of the papers pointed out, also expressed that they lost social interaction, a necessary condition that produced the learner as a subject. So, and there was also one or two papers which discussed like how blended and hybrid learning is not without challenges. There are demerits, but yeah, how do we convert this demerits into opportunities? And there are several papers which are presented on collaborative learning strategies, and a lot of papers that focused on collaborative learning strategies were also in the third track and in fourth track. The second session started with a keynote address by Dr. Mary Pereira, who discussed self-directed learning in the distance mode. And the session also started with the presentation on promotion of independent learning in higher education, where the major highlight was on the shift from teacher-centered learning to student-centered learning. And there was also a paper on discovery learning in classrooms and discovery learning as one of the methods of constructivist models and approach. So where we are trying to discover the hidden potentiality of the students who could motivate them to self-directed learning. So there's also a paper, at least one or two papers on empowerment of tribal women, and one of the papers even discussed informal education rather than instead of formal education. So it argues that tribal women would benefit a lot from informal mode of learning, provided they have access technologies. And it also presented the gendered androgenic structures. And there's some of the papers which presented as to how open access and OERs have promoted free access to all scholarly publications. And another paper on sustainable development, that is about how to create waste awareness about e-waste management. So papers have attempted to explore multifarious domains. OER in legal studies is also an interesting paper. Another paper discussed as to how one of the papers attempted to analyze the concept note on blended learning issued by UGC and sought to highlight the ways in which some light could be shed on improving access. So track 3 also started with a paper, and it also discussed reflective journal writing and portfolio writing as methods. And it's almost analogous to what is called autobiographical method, and one would know as to how to use this self-reflexive approaches to understand as to how one progresses through the learning process, etc. And in track 4 there are two sessions which focused on a particular domain, and it's not clear. One is the discipline-based teaching and learning, pedagogical content knowledge. We had about 2 sessions, and about 18 papers were there, and at least about 5 papers were on language-based language acquisition through psycholinguistics and through mathemagenic, and these are some of the approaches that they highlight. And quite a number of papers also draw on neuroscience, and quite interesting. And neuro has become actually a prefix, and it's also become a sort of an ontology. So there is neuro images in film studies, neuroarchitecture, neuroeconomics. So there's a lot happening in the domain of neuroscience. So in a sense, there is a wide array of papers that present as I mean, discussed and in these 2 days. So thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hanif, for an overview on the varied themes that were discussed, on the debates, discussions that happened, and perhaps conclusions that were drawn. We would also like to appreciate the team of reporters who helped us in preparing this overview. It is very useful and important and perhaps considered what they call the best practices now within the system of education to have feedbacks from the participants. So in this regard, I would invite, we have 3 feedbacks. I would first like to invite Ms. Debani Deb from Department of Education, Central University, Kerala, to share her experiences with us on this conference.
Everyone on and off the dais. I am Debani Deb, doctoral research scholar in the School of Education of Central University of Kerala. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the conference organizers, especially Dr. Ramaya and Dr. Chelmani, Madam being my teacher here, because I was an ex-student of the School of Education of Pondicherry University, and thank you for providing me this opportunity to come back to my home institution once again. And the conference was indeed a great learning experience. For these 2 days, I guess through a lot of deliberations across 4 broad sub-themes that were part of the major theme of constructivism in teaching and learning in the formal and distance learning across disciplines. So we really, I guess I personally learned a lot of new things, a lot of new ideas and informations were introduced rather, and there were keynote speakers from internationally reputed institutions from whom we got to learn a lot of other researches that are happening globally, perhaps in this area when it comes to constructivism. And I really want to thank even the participants from whom I have personally kind of got a lot of insights into what kind of researches they are pursuing at present in different institutions across the nation. And there are participants who have come from different parts of the country. So it feels great in such cases, in such occasions, when we get to mingle with so many wide variety of people from different cultures, different linguistic backgrounds. So it gives us immense pleasure and exposure in such cases, in such international conferences. And I would also like to thank everyone, each member of the organizing committee, with the way they have dealt with this particular conference, especially starting from the way we were received at the registration venue. We were given kits, from the way things were organized, and the food, the lunch, everything was like, even the dinner yesterday was unexpected. I don't remember when the last time I attended a conference, and there was such a nice cultural program also arranged, in the evening for all of us. And thank you for your hospitality. It was indeed great. Just that, feedback usually is not always about appreciation, so there should be some constructive suggestions also. So probably I would just say it's not a criticism, rather I do understand the time crunch which kind of sometimes happens. It's a practical constraint when you organize such a big event, with so many sessions, that some of the sessions kind of would have definitely there would be like a time crunch, in the sense that if some sessions take away greater time, then the others lose out on some time. So it would be great if we can balance that in some way from maybe the next time onwards. So that's what I felt So I'm really thankful to each and every one of you, all the dignitaries on stage, and I'm glad. I also would like to mention that we really learned a lot from what the different vice chancellors, who came yesterday, and I'm sure today also we have a vice chancellor amongst us. So from their immense experiential knowledge, we do get to learn so much. So thank you, madam and sir, and every one of you for bringing such eminent personalities in such forums for us to learn for, for our future maybe careers and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Debani De, for your constructive appreciation as well as criticism. I'm sure the organizers were encouraged and will take into account what you said. Next, I invite Ms. Eliwon Tiomai, Department of Education, Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, to share her experiences with us.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eliwon Tiomai. I'm a research scholar from the Department of Education. That is in Indira Gandhi National Tribal Universities, Amarkantak, Madhya Pradesh. First of all, I would like to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this program. Before I was, first, personally, I would like to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have never been away from home. I come to the North India for my PhD, and my research scholar, my supervisor itself is the ex-scholar of this university. She works under Ma'am Dr. Srikela. I have already heard her name through my supervisor, and I also have heard the name of our dean through my supervisor. And during the initial course of my studies, she used to constantly remind about her experience of these esteemed universities, Pondicherry universities, and she has been telling me to go and visit this university because she already have a good experience about this university. So I was excited about this. I planned to visit this university before the outbreak of this COVID-19 pandemic, but unfortunately, because of this pandemic, I wasn't able to attend. But fortunately, after this COVID, when it is over, we got this program, and I told my ma'am that I have seen this light, and she told me, she encouraged me that I should go there. So coming here, I experienced so many things. Our university is located in the north and is far away from the city. The location itself is rural, I should say that. And coming here, I gained a lot of experience through this speech given by the dignitaries, the speech given by the prominent speaker from around the world. I have a wonderful time staying here, just as one of my friends has given a feedback, the food. Whenever we go for lunch and dinner, I never miss all the items. I have to taste everything. Whether I like it or not, I have to taste everything. So I have a wonderful time tasting different types of food, not only about listening to the speech given by the prominent speaker. The hospitality itself is very wonderful. I have been to some conference and seminar, but I should say that for me, this is one of the best hospitality that I got to experience. And above all, the speech given by the participants and by the different speakers, it is enlightening, it is motivating, as well as it is encouraging. So I feel wonderful to be here, and I have a wonderful time here. And I believe that the other participants who have been here in this conference will never regret coming here. So I would like to say thank you to the organizing committee, and thank you to all the personnel who are involved in this conference. So with these few words, I would like to conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tiomai, for your compliments to the organizers. Next, we have Colonel Praveen Kumar, Research Scholar, Department of Education, Pondicherry University. Please.
Distinguished guests on the dais, head of the organizing committee, Director DDE and Dean Ma'am, all the present educationists, students, and those who have come from far areas, not the local ones. They also, presented the paper here. At the outset, let me compliment to each one of you who gave and presented their presentation, and it was very enlightening to know that different topics and different articles were read. During that, we learned so many things, because I strongly feel that we are expert into our own domain, maybe or may not be. We may be expert and we may be a learner. I feel we are all learners. To get expertise need a lot of efforts, and learned people are sitting here on the other side as well. But it is always, I feel that we learn from each other. I am coming after I am coming after 4 months to this wonderful place. When I was in Chennai, I was posted in Chennai. I used to frequently come, but now I'm posted to Jammu, and I was told that here is an opportunity to come and present a paper, and thank ma'am for your kind invitation and allowing me to present my thoughts, my research area, where I could present something on which I am already working. And I must thank all the organizers, those who are faculty members and those who are administrative member both, because it is not there are members who are working, but there are members who are working at the backdrop. So directly or indirectly, all those who are involved in making this wonderful conference a grand success, my compliments to them. And as far as ma'am feedback, I just felt there is one feedback which I feel that since all those presenters they came here, though already that point has been given, that some of the presenters, they did not get adequate time to present their paper. That is there, but then positive time is always happens in such a grand activity or the conference. But I feel that we can have, if a time is given 6 or 7 minutes or 8 minutes, after 5 or 6 minutes, a little bit indicator through some bell can be given to the presenter, because when a person is presenting a paper or speaking, he is having a flow of thoughts. So sometime he forgets that I have taken more time beyond the stipulated time which is given. But that is just I feel that I can add on, and definitely it was a very learning experience for me. I thank each one of you because interaction and meeting different personalities always is a pleasure, and we learn from each other. Thank you very much, ma'am and director sir, for giving us this wonderful opportunity and add some value to our intellect. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Colonel Praveen Kumar, for sharing your experience. I hope that the organizers have noted all the suggestions. For felicitation address, please allow me to invite Professor Rajiv Jain, Director of Culture and Cultural Relations. He has been serving as a Director of Culture and Cultural Relations for the past 5 years. Sir, we are delighted to have you amidst us.
Professor Mohan, Vice Chancellor, Pondicherry Technical University. Professor Ramaiah, Organizing Secretary and Director, Directorate of Distance Education, Pondicherry University. Professor Chalamani, Joint Organizing Secretary and Dean, School of Education, Pondicherry University. Dr. Hanif, Professor, Department of Electronics, Media and Mass Communication, Pondicherry University. Dr. Gupta, Dr. Ritu, fellow colleagues, participants, students and friends from print and electronic media. First, I take this opportunity to congratulate the organizers to organize an international conference on the topic of contemporary relevant, that is teaching and learning in the context of formal and distance learning, about which Professor Ramaiah has explained or given a detailed description about that, the reasons for organizing the conference, and also from the report presented by Dr. Hanif and feedback given by the participants, it is very satisfying to observe that the conference has served the purpose for which it has been organized. Participants are happy for the good hospitality, good dinner, lunch, and also they learn a lot from the talks given by different learned resource persons. One of the objectives of the distance education is to provide education to the person in the remotest corner of the country or reaching the unreached. The person who has no means to get education, he has to support his family, maybe from a family where he is the only earner, to provide education to that person. And in that area, one of the steps was, which is very successful, is the midday meal, which is now spread all over the country. It is serving its purpose. Students are coming to the school because now they are getting food, which they have not to work for earning their food. As in the case of our community college, as I come to know, most of students there, they earn while they learn. They earn their fees. They earn their college fees and they work in the morning and evening, and they are turning out a very good citizen. In the same direction, under the leadership of Professor Ramaiah, our the Directorate of Distance Education is working. He is working tirelessly to provide education who could not get education because they are not able to join different colleges and universities. They have to learn, they have to earn, they want to get education wherever they are present. So that our institute is serving, and we have opened a number of other distance learning centers through which we are providing education. As presented here in the report, that we have some 8 undergraduate courses and many postgraduate courses. So in that direction, we shall make efforts to have more undergraduate courses and more places, more tuning centers and more study centers, so that students can learn at the place where they are present. From the feedback and from the abstract book or paper book, I come to know that the quality of the lectures here is excellent, which is not usually in the conferences. And here the only complaint, as I observed, is that they get lesser time for presentation of their work. It tells about lot about the conference, that in a conference of 1.5 days, so much of papers were presented, so much of lectures were delivered, and if the conference time was more, then more participants would have been there and they would have more time. And it is the usual complaint in every conference then participants complain that they get only less time, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. But this is the general practice. If we give more time, suppose 15 minutes, then the presentation by participants will be less number of participants will be there. Otherwise, I find that all the participants are very happy, and I hope they will go to their respective universities and colleges with good memories. They must have added to their knowledge some new things which they will practice there. With this, I thank you to the organizers for giving me the opportunity for coming here and interacting with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words of encouragement, and we are always indebted to you and the administration for their constant support to such intellectual events. I am now highly delighted to invite our chief guest to deliver valedictory address, Professor S. Mohan, Vice Chancellor, Puducherry Technological University. He is currently serving as the first Vice Chancellor of Puducherry Technological University, Pondicherry, since December 2021. Prior to this, he had served at the IIT Madras, Chennai for over 35 years. He has published over 200 research articles and technical reports on several topics related to environmental and water resources and engineering as well as science. He has also carried out around 25 national and international sponsored research projects as well as 126 national projects. He is also someone who is featured consecutively in world's top 2% scientists working in the field of environmental engineering that was published by Stanford University, USA, first in September 2020 and next in November 2021. Sir, we are keenly looking forward to listening to you.
Professor Rajiv Jain, Director CNCR, Pondicherry University, Professor Ramaya, Professor Chalamani, and Dr. Hanif, and my dear participants and students, friends. It's late evening. I should not be taking too much of time, but I would like to share some of my thoughts for this important conference what you have been having for these last 2 days. First of all, let me confess that I am from environmental and water source engineering, but fortunately I had a chance to serve as a director for National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research, which is called NITTER in India. So that I served for 5 years, where I really learned the intricacies of teaching. So that way it is good for me to look into this particular aspect. Let me put my points little. I think the first line what Professor Ramaya has been telling me is constructivism is constructing knowledge, skill and attitude. I think that's a very nice sentence. I like it. But out of these three, if you just look at the knowledge and skill and attitude, if you put the alphabet and the number of that alphabet and then add it up, then if you find it, knowledge has around 76 and the skill is having around 82, but the attitude is 100. So I would always request, there is no point in having a lot of knowledge and skill if I don't have a good attitude. I think that's why they say that the cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, and also the attitude thing. That I think it is skill domain. So these are very important for you to look into it. So when you start teaching, please remember these three. We are very good in knowledge transfer agent. We go on teach for 45 minutes or 50 minutes, but we don't teach the other two. As a teacher, we need the other two also you are supposed to teach. For that, First thing is you should give them some activities. Unfortunately, we always feel that, especially on covering the syllabus, I don't know whether all of you, many teachers are very important to cover the syllabus. You are supposed to uncover the syllabus. Am I correct? Uncovering what it is there in the syllabus and try to make him to think over on your syllabus. But we wanted to always finish it up, and finally we may, it is very nice to look at the attitude, including me, I was teacher. Unit 1 we spent, or the first chapter or first unit, we spent enormous amount of time. Actually that teacher help is not needed, that they can read from any book. But the second, third, fourth unit, and especially the fourth unit, is that you have to give a case study, or you may have to give a good application. There, the teacher always escape having asked them to study from book or choice letter. We always say that. That's not correct. Actually, first 1 and 2, the students can learn on their own. In fact, provided sometimes you confuses them by taking a lot of classes. But third and fourth unit is what it is needed by your present and your intellectual capability and your experience should tell them that why I am studying this and what is the use of studying this particular topic or this particular unit. I think that is where you have to concentrate. In fact, you can go in a reverse order, because ask them to study on their own on first and second unit and go ahead with your discussion. That is now informally it is called flipped classroom. So you give all the material and then come to the class, have discussions and give them some activity. In fact, unfortunately, our teachers have been following the same old practice of their teachers. I think that is one of the problem with us. How my teacher taught to me, I am also teaching the same thing. But actually 25, 50 years will be over. And if I am teaching the same way as what I have been taught, then it is not correct. That is 20 years back technology. So the first and foremost, as a teacher or a thing, my request is change is very important. You should not have a very kind of a straight jacket kind of a thing that I will do whatever I do, whether he learns or not. That days have gone. Now, if you just look at teach, put it on a mirror or an image. The image, if you look at it, you will always get a learn. Okay, I'm saying literally. You write a letter LEARN and put on the mirror or teach. The mirror image will be learn. So we never worried about it. We always look at only on teaching. But learning is very, very important. So that I think one of all of you should. And now the constructive alignment, we call in our engineering constructive alignment. Now we are also going for what is called outcome-based education. Outcome-based education is after that course is over, what is that the student should have got. So work backwards and then tell your teaching methodology accordingly. So that it is going on and I am sure that you will also have to learn something on this particular thing. Okay, so and the second point which I really like it is, if you look at the student psychology, okay, I am not a psychology expert, but you should understand earlier when I was student in a class, we used to listen for 20-25 minutes without any problem, because that was our job and we were. But nowadays the students are multifaceted people. So they always look for something else, and the maximum time that they can concentrate on your teaching is only, any idea? 10 to 11 minutes. Please understand that. Okay. So if you are going for the same mode of teaching, then only the first 10 minutes something whatever you taught, it might have gone inside. Remaining 40 minutes, it goes only as a blah blah. Okay, so please understand the psychology of the student. So we call that as 3 effect. Okay, the first effect is primacy effect. Primacy is that initially when you go to your class or when you are starting your lecture, you should tell some interesting thing, why we are learning and what is the way that you are learning. Unless you create it, the primacy effect won't be there. Then he feels that okay, he is going to talk something on whatever it is. So then the interest will come down, and around, unless you give some new concept or new way of teaching, the same mode of teaching should not be adopted nowadays. Okay, in between you have to give an activity, or you ask one student to tell a particular what he thinks, or ask the student to write what they are thinking. So if you do that, the effect will be what's called von Rastorff effect. So that effect is what the teacher has to create. And towards the end, the last one is your recency effect. Okay, recency effect is the finally, even if a boy is or a girl is sleeping in the class, exactly on 45 minutes he will get up. Okay, please observe if you have not observed it, because the biological clock works like that. So in the last 5 minutes he will be listening. So it is essential that the last 5 minutes you have to summarize what you have taken in the class. Okay, so these are all essential as a teacher that you have to learn. So then how to make them skill, how to make them attitude. The attitude is, please remember, you need not do anything, but if you are a good teacher and if you are a human being, good human being, they take you as a model. Okay, the first they take parents as model, the second model that they take always is teacher. So please remember that whatever you are doing, it will have an influence on their behavior. Okay, so as a model or as a good attitude, you should love them and they should also love you. Okay, the love now odane vera meaning edukadinga. It's just you have to love, or you have to have the passion for your teaching. You should also show interest that this subject is close to my heart. I remember there are some teachers who go to the class on the first day and then say that, Professor Ramaya has allotted me, but I don't like this particular subject. If you tell on the first class, then nobody will listen you. Then they themselves will know that you have already, you are not interested in what way that you are teaching. So please never ever show to your student that you are not interested in the subject. Okay, whether you like it or not, you have to make your way of teaching is more interesting to the people. So the second good point which I haven't had an experience when I was in Cornell University, USA. One day my professor, after lunch, he took me to one of the, it's education department. So there they did lot of analysis about the brains of, one is Albert Einstein, okay, so he donated his brain to, another is a notorious criminal from California, so he also donated the brain. So they made a lot of analysis on how the things have been done or how the brain that it works and so on. And when he asked me the question, which is the best brain? So I said automatically it's Albert Einstein, is a great scientist, his brain is the best brain. But he took me to the other side of it, and it was very clearly, categorically said that the criminal brain is the best brain. Okay, so why it is so? The scientist always thinks only in one direction. He never worried about what is happening, even if somebody is doing anything on the side, he never worried about that particular one. So he always goes in one side, he never thinks what the other people are thinking. Whereas a criminal always look that what the other fellow is doing, so that I have to be overthinking on that particular one. And that's one. and also the quick reaction. If you go to a very senior professor or a big scientist, if you ask a question, the answer will come little late. So the point is they think over and then try to answer for you. Even to answer for your thing, that the reaction time is really very high, okay, for a scientist. On the other hand, a criminal should have a very quick reaction time and immediately he has to escape from that. So there are the 7 points which finally said that the criminal brain is best brain. So never ever underestimate a criminal. Okay, so because he has to be over above and above you to think, then only he can steal your thing. If he is also thinking like you, then he cannot steal your thing or whatever the material or escape from that particular thing. So in the sense, never ever imagine a scientist's brain is the best brain. Okay, so this is what I wanted to tell, because the neural network itself is very good for a criminal. Unless his neural network is good, he cannot become a criminal. Okay, he will be caught very quickly. So never ever underestimate a particular point. Okay, so and I would like to say some model which I wanted you to do it on your own. What is model is called SHAPE, which is very, I think, I don't know, some of you might have heard about the SHAPE model, which is followed in Singapore. It was devised by the National University of Singapore, but it's a very good model. The model is SHAPE. The S is for stories. Okay, so the best way that one can learn is through stories. Unfortunately, we are moving away from stories. In the sense, earlier, when your grandfather or grandmother was there, definitely they will tell some stories every day. Okay, and your mannerism, your attitude, everything comes from that particular thing. So you learn from that particular thing. That is a story. Then H is an idea. Just to guess it. H is humor. Okay, so don't be always have a very rough face in front of your student as if that you are a very strict professor. Nothing will work. So you have to be little more humorous. And why humor is needed? Unless you make a joke or something that it is, the brain refreshes very quickly, even chemically as well as whatever you do. So try to tell something which is not, nowadays it is not, even if you don't like joke, morning itself go to the net and then get some 2 jokes and then tell it in the class. Let the people, even nobody will sleep. Okay, so he will laugh at it and everyone laughs at next class, he won't sleep. So try to, that's a second H. And A is give activities. Please, you don't think that if I am on teaching, everything goes into the brain. No. So I think this is a misconception that what we have. So give them some activities, let them do on their own, either as individual activities or group activities, or ask them to come and take 2 minutes, talk about something. Like this you may have to give. That way you reduce your stress. You need not talk for 50 minutes. Okay, so because normally, I remember sometime the teacher prepares for 50 minutes or 40 minutes it will be over. So afterwards you can easily find out that he doesn't have any stuff afterwards. So instead of that, give them some activities. Okay, P is presentation. Presentation is not PowerPoint presentation. How you present, how passionately that you are presenting the subject. Okay, E is for, at least one answer I would like to get. E is for example. Always give some examples. Don't always talk in the class without any examples as well. I think this SHAPE model, if you adopt at least 3 out of 5, stories, humor, activities, presentation, examples, if you can adapt 3 of them in the class will be very lively. Okay, so I request that all of you should enjoy your teaching. I'm sure that the teachers are not coming for only for salary. They have the passion. So enjoy your teaching, don't make it as a rough kind of a thing. Enjoy your teaching so that you also talk to the students. And many times that we always have, especially college teachers. The school teachers are very good. They always move very close with the students, talk to him, what is happening to the family, what is the thing. But when we come as a college teacher, we always maintain a distance. That doesn't work very well. Please, they are also our kids. Go very closely to them. I am not asking you to go and play rummy with them. That is not what I am saying. So try to talk with them and make them little more close to you so that it is very good for your thing. So I would like to, I think this constructivism, which is a new area, so in fact other countries are going very well, and I am very happy that Professor Ramaya and Professor Chalamani has chosen this particular topic. But I would like to only one small thing. Nowadays there is nothing called distance learning, even though we have used the old term, but there is no distance. Now even America person can be on my laptop. There is no distance as such. So it is only online learning or offline learning. So I think we should also change our thing if it is possible, rather than go on saying, earlier it was very true, distance learning, but nowadays distance learning, even we are not sending the books, we are only sending the PDF file or documents, everything through internet. So I think that way we should also make a thing that it is not distance learning, it is more on online and offline learning. I would like to always tell you, in the same model, I would like to tell one small thing, how to teach Newton's law. Okay? How many of you know Newton's law? Okay, 3. Okay. So, how to teach? If I go on, write the law and everything, it is very difficult for him to remember. I'll tell you a small story how you can make them more thing. So that means a cow was moving, okay? So Newton came in front and then stopping it. So the cow stopped. So he wrote the first rule, an object will be moving unless there is a force to stop it. Okay, is that clear? Then he made a kick on the cow, and immediately the cow made a sound. What is ma? Ma is m into a. So he wrote the second law, that force is equal to mass into acceleration, ma. Okay, and immediately the cow also gave a kick to Newton, and Newton wrote the third law, every action has a equal and opposite reaction. So if you tell this, never the student will forget the Newton's law. Okay, so we are all remembering by mugging up and recalling, and we do that. But teach with some enthusiasm, teach with some good kind of thing. So I also would like to say one request to all the teachers. Please allow the students to ask questions. Unfortunately, we always feel that asking question is checking your integrity. That is not correct. The student, because he doesn't know, he is asking a question. Okay, so we are all very good, especially mothers are very good when their kids are asking question, even without any time. The father never answers very patiently. He will always say that go out to your mother and ask question. But the mother answers every question of the kids. But the same mother, when he comes as a teacher, I really don't understand the she won't allow too many questions from the kids. But I think that is what you may have to allow. Allow them to ask question, whatever it is. It may be a silly question or it may be a very naive question, but he did not understand, that's why he is asking. So by answering to him, you are answering to many people who did not ask question. So allow them to ask questions. So There is a story, one mathematics teacher, okay. Any mathematics teachers are here? No mathematics teacher, okay. So mathematics teacher always either they will give 0 mark or 100 marks or 10 marks, whatever it is, okay. They don't have the concept of intermediate. So now only we are making that step 1, step 2 and all. Earlier when we were all studying, the result answer they will see. If the answer is correct, they will give full mark. If the answer is not there, they will give 0. They don't look at the steps because they say finally what you have calculated is wrong. Okay, so one maths teacher came with a jubilant smile to the staff room. Maths teacher never be that much jubilant smile, so he came with a very jubilant smile. Then the other colleagues have asked, what is that? What happened? Why are you so much very happy and so on? He told that there is something happened in my class today. I started making a derivation of Laplace equation. Okay, Laplace equation is on the dou square x by dou x square plus dou square y by dou s square equal to 0. Okay, so this has to be started from the fundamental, and he was deriving. And when he went to 4th step, one student got up and asked, "Sir, I didn't understand anything. Could you please repeat from the beginning?" Okay, so automatically a teacher will always say that, okay, I will repeat from the beginning. So when he came to 4th step, he again asked him whether did you understand. But that boy told very frankly, "Sir, still I didn't understand, but I don't want to trouble you, please move on." So then when he has got to 6th step, another student asked, and he told, when the 4th student asked me how that step come, then only I myself understood how the derivation has come. Okay, so many times the teachers will be go on derivation without understanding what it is. So by asking questions by the student, you also learn. The teacher also learn. This nobody will accept it, but that is a true, that we should allow them to ask questions. Okay, so I think this 2 days conference it is not that 2 days you come and then go away. I would request that each one of you should organize a program in your institution back and at least train 30 people. That is the main idea of this particular conference. Conference is where you get a lot of information. Even if you are teaching, go to the class and talk 2 minutes about this conference. The students will be more happy. Somebody will be more happy that you have attended a conference, what is a new thing or what is a kind of information. I think we need not give every 50 minutes to be water jacked. So give something to them. Okay. So with that, I would request that you have a very nice time. I'm really happy. And somebody was telling me that, when giving the feedback, I did not have enough time to present it. In fact, when I was working in IIT Madras, our director used to say, you have to put only one slide and explain your research thing, PhD research. If that should be your capacity to make a presentation. But unfortunately, we always make too many slides and without looking at what the people are there. So in fact, I would be more happy that with 2 or 3 slides, if I can convey what my research, I think that's enough. So 2 or 3 slides is more than enough to convey that particular one, rather than 24 slide or 34 slide, which is not really required. It's only a planning. So you plan for 3 slides and then convey your research. I think that's the best way of communication. So with that thing, I thank you very much for inviting me to valedictory function. I am sure that I hope that I have not delayed you much. I am so sorry. I was in another German DAD exchange program. There was a conference, so I had to be there at that particular time. There was some delay. There also the speaker took a lot of time, so I couldn't come out because I was chairman for that particular thing. So I am so sorry and apologize for my delay in coming, but nonetheless, I am really very happy that you never get perturbed. You were all waiting for, even though it crosses 5:30 or something. So wish you all the best, and do educate at least 30 people minimum what you have learned during this conference. Thank you very much for patient hearing.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very enjoyable and interesting talk. And I'm glad that this was the concluding speech for the conference. It was rightly the concluding speech because, as sir mentioned, the shape model, I think he also gave us enough examples, and he woke us up by his humoristic examples. So we are really grateful to him for that. And he demonstrated in a very effective way the model that he offered to us. His lecture was full of very practical, useful suggestions that we can actually carry on to our classrooms, and we would all agree with him that there is definitely a need for us to change our approach in the teaching, and I would say that we need to bring the students closer and cut down a little bit on the hierarchy of the classroom, the traditional classroom. And he pointed out that we need to treat our students as family, because the joy, the enthusiasm that we put in the class is something that is going to come back to us and make our lives better. Thank you so much, sir. With these words, I invite Professor Chelamani, Dean, School of Education, to propose vote of thanks. Ma'am.
Good evening to everyone. I take the privilege to propose the vote of thanks to this August gathering of the valedictory function on eve of two-day international conference. On behalf of the Directorate of Distance Education, Pondicherry University, and School of Education, I take it as pride and privilege to propose the heartfelt, sincere sense of acknowledgement to the entire education fraternity for making this international conference as a grand, successful event. The deliberations of these 2 days conference focused on the evidence drawn from research and innovation in teaching and learning for construction of knowledge. On this occasion, the August gathering is honored to have the valuable messages from the distinguished Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry Technology University, Professor Mohan, and our esteemed Director, Culture and Cultural Relations, Professor Rajiv Jain. Our first and foremost acknowledgement of gratitude submission is to our respected and beloved Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmeet Singh, for his encouragement and support in making this conference successful. Thank you very much, sir. We are profusely acknowledge our gratitude to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry Technological University, Professor Mohan, a scientist from IIT. Professor, we really find a great teacher in you, and whatever I want to say that Professor Tyagi had mentioned everything, and your insights are very valuable, and you have made that the 3 effect, primacy effect and other effects are very valuable. We do take it up, and your shape model and your entire talk was on shape model, which I have observed, and your expressions as such is an inspiration and a model for us to emulate in our classrooms, sir. My special thanks to Mr. Murugavelu, Assistant Engineer, Electrical Wing, who have facilitated all our auditorium requirements, Mr. Sahai Raja, DR Admin, and in charge of guest house for providing guest house accommodation, venue arrangements and food, which you all appreciated in your feedback. Thanks to them. My special thanks to my colleagues from School of Education who have been shouldering me in all affairs of this event. My sincere thanks to media persons, technicians, artists, and audio-video personnel for your support. Thank you very much. I thank the sponsors, ICSSR, Macro Hill, and Himalayan Publication Limited, Indian Bank, Pondicherry University, for making this conference a rich occasion. I thank all the faculty from various teacher education colleges and arts and science colleges who have accepted our invitation and rendered the fullest support. I thank all the participants, paper presenters, scholars, students, and ladies and gentlemen for your contribution and participation. Thank you very much for everyone. Above all, thanks to the Almighty for your cooperation and for this successful event. Thank you very much.